Hello again, everybody. CoolWillyB here. I'm back. Today we're rocking a Spider-Man slab, 9/8, Spider-Man 1, of course. So anyway, how we doing? So first things first, I want to get it off my chest. I know my edits are not great, and the sound may be not great, my intro video, I was kind of glistening a little bit because I thought I had a little piece of glitter on me, but no, I'm just sweaty. That's how it is. But anyway, we're back. And I'm excited about it because I have something very cool today. Very cool and very big. I told you I was going to be bringing something big to start. Okay, and here it is. Also a very sentimental book to me. I gotta tell you, look at this thing. Whew. This thing, all right, so the story is, it's 1976. I'm 9 years old. I go every day and pick out a comic book. It's something that my father gave me, and just give me a quarter and said, go get a comic book, keep yourself entertained for a little while. I like drawing from them too. So I would go off to the local store, which was a little magazine shop. They didn't have comic book stores back in the 70s. Little magazine shop, they had everything, books, magazines, cards, you name it. And that's where I got my comics at the time, and that's where I got this bad boy. And now see, here's the thing. My father and I had just a thing. He was into Superman, I was into Spider-Man. So we argued. The idea was, who would beat who? Obviously, we know who would. We know Superman would pound the crap out of Spider-Man. However, I'm 9 years old. I don't want to hear that. I love the guy. And so that thing came out. Man, look at this poor thing. Look at how beat up it is. Stains all over it. I gotta clean it. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just, this thing. Whew. It's a well-loved book. In my lifetime, this actual copy of this book has been lost and found and lost and found again during various moves. But one of my earliest comic book memories was seeing this massive book on the newsstand. So back in 1976, someone decided to settle the score between these two. And the size alone tells you this book is different. It's special. This is, as the title says, the Battle of the Century, Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man from 1976, an oversized Treasury edition. If you've ever wanted to see what two companies that normally act like rival soda brands suddenly decide to share the same glass, this is where it started. It's the first major crossover between DC Comics and Marvel Comics. And yeah, today we take crossovers for granted, but back then, this was diplomacy as well as comic book history in the making. By the mid-70s, both companies had their flagship icons. Superman representing DC's golden mythic tradition and Spider-Man representing Marvel's more grounded, everyday hero. And getting them into the same book was not easy, and yet it happened. Now, I said I was going to try and do a little bit of research. I did, a little bit. According to notes over on comics.org, literary agent David Obst, O-B-S-T, I don't know, helped kick off the entire project. Production managers from both companies coordinated the collaboration behind the scenes. So this wasn't just a, hey, let's do a team up. This was lawyers, editors, printers, probably at least one very stressed assistant making sure nobody's logo appeared bigger than the other. They did all right. The story is by Jerry Conway, art by Ross Andru, and inks by Dick Giordano. And that creative lineup makes sense in retrospect. Conway had written both Superman and Spider-Man at different points in his career, so he's one of the few writers who could credibly handle both characters without either company feeling like their hero was getting dunked on. In fact, Conway later said he basically handled much of the editorial coordination, proofing, supervising art, the whole juggling act, which sounds about right for a book where every panel probably had to pass through 2 approval chains. Ross Andru was the current artist on Spider-Man, and crushing it at the time, I thought. His art was perfect for this matchup, grandiose and big, splash pages all over this book. He later did a run on Action Comics, this most likely being his audition for that later gig. And then Giordano on inks was just the cherry on top of this delicious dessert. Story-wise, we get what you'd expect from classic crossover. Misunderstanding, then fight. Because, obviously, individually, our heroes are each beating up their respective villains, Lex Luthor and Doc Ock, and the bad guys end up in prison together. Luthor breaks the two out, and they team up to wreak havoc on our heroes. My personal favorite moment in this book is when there's trouble, and both Peter and Clark see each other and ask the other where the phone booths are, which is classic. Zapping Spidey with red sun radiation, Spidey gains temporary powers and beats up on Supes pretty well until it wears off, and then he doesn't. And once the heroes realize they're not actually enemies, we get the big team up, because nothing sells an oversized Treasury edition like two icons punching robots together. And speaking of oversized, this wasn't just released as a normal floppy. It came out in that giant Treasury format. Those big magazine-sized comics were designed to feel like an event off the rack. You weren't buying another issue. You were buying something that looked like it belonged on your coffee table. Or maybe around your neck. And, unknown to me until I started looking into the research for this book, there were apparently even special numbered edition copies signed by Stanley and Carmine Infantino, although reports suggest there are fewer existed than originally claimed. Weird. I guess you're never too old to learn a new thing, huh? This is an important book to me personally, but it matters historically too. The first major collaboration between the two big comic companies with their signature flagship characters. And what really makes this book important isn't just that it happened. It proved that it could happen. For two competing publishers to co-publish a single story featuring their biggest characters was basically unheard of at the time. And once that door opened, you eventually get things like DC versus Marvel, Amalgam Universe, and later crossovers across decades. And even now, 50 years later, the original story is still getting anniversary reprints because it's such a landmark moment. What I love is how the book treats both heroes as heroes in their own ways. Superman's the unstoppable force, and Spider-Man's the scrappy underdog that never stops fighting. Instead of trying to solve that power gap with fisticuffs like my father and I did, the story leans into their personalities. It's less about who would win, and more about how wildly different these two icons actually are in their power sets, but both equally heroic. It's basically the moment that Marvel and DC shook hands, and then immediately had their characters punch each other before teaming up, which honestly feels perfect for superhero comics. And if you've got one of these in your collection, even if it's a little beat up like my poor old copy is, you're holding a piece of comic book history. It changed how the history thought about crossovers. Not bad for something sitting on a newsstand next to crossword puzzle magazines. If it wasn't so big, I would have missed it back in '76 and not be holding this awesome memory right now. So yeah, it isn't just a big comic, it's so much more. Acknowledging the rivalry of the two, but realizing they're all in the same business of making adventures. And more than that, making memories for an old guy like me. That's it for now, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Like, subscribe, whatever. I'll catch you next time. Stay cool, y'all.